viewers have an idea if they didn't watch the first one. So you're good.
All right, so here in our third segment here, fantasy football and another dollar.
That's two.
We are going to continue our conversation. I brought up the question, and in the last segment, talking about what's going to happen here with the 49er situation, specifically with Purdy. We kind of proposed the hypothetical. If he plays really well, beats the Eagles, comes out in the Super Bowl, unfortunately loses, what does that entail for him? If he does win a Super Bowl, I think Jason talked about how, he's probably going to be the go-to guy. I think we were kind of all agreeing with that. But I'll hand it over to Josh to give his thoughts on that situation.
So I mean, if I'm John Lynch, it's definitely going to be, an interesting offseason. I think these next two games will definitely have to be a big part of their decision making. But overall, I mean, I think that I don't know as far as like the money, how that works out, but I think that they don't sign back Jimmy Garoppolo and they let him go into free agency. Who knows where he goes? And I think that they try to hold on to Trey Lance. They gave up a lot for Trey Lance. It doesn't really make sense for them to try to trade him, especially because he doesn't have a lot of value. I mean, who knows what some team will offer them, but I don't think they're going to get a lot. Maybe a first round pick, but that wouldn't be worth what they put in to get Lance. But I mean, Purdy's been playing really good, and if I'm John Lynch, I start him next season just because of he won 10 games in a row, and if you can kind of over the offseason, if Shanahan can kind of throw some new things in the playbook to kind of fit Purdy's play style more, I think that they can continue to be a playoff NFC championship kind of team, and especially if they are able to retain this defense. But I'd start Purdy and keep Trey Lance, and maybe Purdy starts to go downhill. Maybe this was just a one season fluke, and then you have the guy that you invested so much into as your backup. I think that's a good option.
I have many scenarios going through my head about this, so I'm going to start throwing them out one at a time. So first and foremost, we're talking about Brock Purdy basically not elevating the 49ers to a Super Bowl win. So you're at a crossroad right here. Your team was undefeated with him until it mattered, and he wasn't able to take that next step. Now his floor is already established and his ceiling is unknown. You have an idea, but you don't know how far he can go. And so you sit here and you question. And so the other portion that I get to, which is related to Trey Lance, is he's played 2 games. His floor isn't set and his ceiling's unknown as well. And you've wasted a lot of draft capital on him in 2 years ago. So it depends on what we see in workouts throughout the offseason to kind of depend on who's really going to be the starter, even though Brock should technically be like their guy. You can't really just completely disregard Trey Lance, even if Brock does well. But the last thing I want to talk about is DeMeco Ryan is not going to be on that team next year. That's a certain. He's going to be gone. Another team's going to sign him after how well this Niner defense played. And so who's going to fill that hole? We can talk about how DeMeco Ryan slid perfectly in from Robert Saleh. And so is somebody going to make that perfect transition? The Niners defense isn't certainly going to be as dominant. It can't be assured because we don't know how it's going to be operated next year.
So, you mind if I touch on that, Austin?
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, I want to touch on the Lance thing. I think the biggest problem a lot of people have with committing fully to Brock Purdy right now is that he doesn't have the arm talent when it comes to like arm strength that Purdy has. But how much do you value how far a quarterback can throw the ball versus everything else that Purdy has over Lance? And that's something, a lot of coaches get so caught up in the intangibles, the tangibles, the things that the physical abilities that you can't teach. And that's what Lance has, but have we really seen any like sort of it factor from Lance? Have we seen the leadership? Have we seen him win games? And I guess if I'm Shanahan, it's not like you have, at least like right now, I don't think you have the perfect top 5 quarterback. So why not just hang on to both? They're both on their rookie contracts still, and you don't have to move either. So why would you? Even if someone offers you, and then Josh, I think somebody would give up more than a first for Lance just because of what he did do in college, and he does have like the abilities, but then again, he hasn't proved anything in the NFL, kind of like what you mentioned. So I could see it going either way. And then your question, Austin, was about the Niners defensive coordinator.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, I was referencing D'Amico Ryan's definitely going to get
Yeah.
signed next year by another team. So do
So you
we
hire
think-
within. I think that's what you do. You hire in house.
Oh no, that's not the issue. I understand that they're going to hire in house.
Yeah.
The shoes are continuing to get larger. The
Yeah.
void is continuing to get bigger. And it's like it's only a matter of time till the team can't hold up what it used to. Because you're continuing the base that built this team is slowly walking elsewhere. And it's taking the ideas, talents, and stuff like that elsewhere. In an innovative game like this, it's a copy league too. So
But here's what I look at. One is if D'Amico Ryans even leaves, because there's not a lot of head coaches that are defensive minded anymore. Everybody wants the offensive coaches. They just have a better hit rate. But I think if you hire somebody in house who knows the scheme, they've been around D'Amico and Robert, for years, and they understand the scheme and what they want to run, then yeah, it's not going to be, I don't think, a significant drop off. But I understand what you're saying. But in my personal opinion, as long as they don't change the scheme too much and they get a leader in that room who knows how to lead men, with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner and Eric Armstead and all the other guys that they have on that defense, I still feel like we'll have a top 5 defense with just about any defensive coordinator aside from Joe Barry. Josh, I hope you like that one.
that's actually a perfect segue. Josh, we want to talk about our next point.
Yeah, so our next point has to do with the Packers. We are going to talk about, I'm sure you saw the news today about, the Jets supposedly saying they would be happy to get 2 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, we just want to kind of discuss about, what kind of value does Rodgers have to other teams? What do you think he'd be worth in a trade? And just, whether he stays in Green Bay, retires, yada, yada, yada. I personally think that Rodgers stays in Green Bay. The front office has already said they want him to return, so we know where their mindset is. They want him to return. He's under contract. I mean, so it's not like, is he going to sign back with us? I mean, he's under contract. He's guaranteed money next year, a lot of it. And I think a lot of teams would be happy to have Aaron Rodgers. You'd be insane not to. But are they willing to take a quarterback who will be 40 years old next year? Are they willing to give up a lot of, trade or draft capital as well as pay him that salary? And I think logistically, no. I think that it'd be easier for, not easier necessarily for Rodgers in Green Bay, but I think that it just makes more sense, realistically, logistically for Rodgers to stay put, because I don't think anybody wants to invest that much into a 40-year-old quarterback who had a bad year, relatively. And I mean, I think that I think it's smarter to go for, this is going to be a good draft. I mean, we say that every year, but I think it'd be, for the Jets or somebody like that to just, go after CJ Stroud or something like that if they can get him, and, coach him your way and build him into your system. No bad habits, stuff like that. Go for it, Cade.
I think you're exactly right, honestly. I think, like you said, I don't think there's a team that can give up draft picks like that, especially the Jets, in my opinion. I think you're exactly right in how you think like you're gonna give up all of that just for Aaron Rodgers, who's 40 years old, has probably 2-3 years left, versus taking draft picks that'll give you at least a 5 to 8 year span of time. Yeah, I think you keep him in Green Bay. I think he should finish out his career in Green Bay, and just kind of let that ride out. I think it's somewhat similar to me in the Dak way of like that's a big contract. Just kind of let it finish out, and then when that finishes out, time to move on and start rebuilding around another quarterback.
I feel like the talk about the age of 40, Brady kind of set a new precedent, and it's kind of an interesting one because like he was traded or was he signed? I think he was signed by the Bucks, if I'm not incorrect.
Just signed, yeah, free
Yeah.
agently.
So obviously that's a different scenario, but referencing age, I feel like he's kind of set a new pathway for quarterbacks that can kind of extend their careers into their 40s. And I mean, Aaron Rodgers still has the arm talent. And I feel like an interesting team that's not necessarily getting like discussed is the Seahawks. And I feel like the Seahawks might not have the best offensive line, but they do have the draft capital. And
Yeah, but Green Bay said they won't trade in the NFC.
okay. That's definitely notable information. So that I feel like if he was to be traded anywhere in the NFC, the team with the draft capital, the Seahawks would be a great asset because they have DK, Tyler. They got a good receiving core. I feel like they're improving at offensive line and their defense is young. So I feel like that team wouldn't be bad. But if the AFC is the only market that they're looking for, I mean, it definitely limits. The Jets obviously would be a great team for him to land because, again, they're a young team. They have plenty of potential superstars that it could bloom out on that team. And, I mean, it's going to be quite interesting. But as Josh was talking about, it's the same thing that who was in a similar situation, who was requesting a trade and couldn't leave. I don't even know if it was football related, but somebody was requesting a trade, and it was Kevin Durant. That's who it was. Kevin Durant in this NBA offseason was talking about how he wanted to go elsewhere, and then they were like, "Dude, you're signed. You don't have leverage here." And that's something I feel like is going to be referenced back to Green Bay. So that contract's going to play a large indicator.
Okay. Ready? Anyways, I feel like just because Aaron Rodgers, I might ramble a bit. So feel free, anybody, to jump in and give your opinion. And
You can
I kind of want to.
You're good.
Yeah. Anyways, Austin. Little disappointed in you, Austin. I feel like you should know this guy has tortured you for years, and you should put a little bit more respect on his name. Also, Josh, I feel like you kind of maybe lied a little bit because I have text messages about how much you believe in Aaron Rodgers, even though he's 40, and that was from today. So just
I've never said I didn't believe in him. I just say what other team would be willing to invest so much in a 40-year-old quarterback?
A lot. Skip Bayless, who has been the biggest critic ever.
Do not bring him up as a source.
He just said today, I want Aaron Rodgers in Dallas. Okay, my point is,
he's pulling up the Wikipedia of fucking analysts.
I'd rather listen to my dog than him.
I don't even want to talk about other teams. I just want to talk about the Jets because that seems like the most likely scenario. And that's what they did with Favre. So I want to say his name is Woody Johnson. He's the owner of the Jets. He's getting up there in age, and he says he only has a few more years of being the owner, more than likely, and he wants to get a Super Bowl. So that tells me where his head is at, and that is not to wait for a young quarterback to develop. He's done that a million times, and he's had Sanchez, he's had Geno Smith, he's had Sam Darnold. I think he's had enough. Do you guys hear that? Some girl screaming. But anyways, she must be watching the podcast. She must be excited. But anyway, so if I looked at the Jets depth chart and roster today because I was curious, like how good is the roster? Like I've heard, at one point throughout the year they're like 6-3. It's a damn good roster. They had the fourth best defense in the NFL last year to finish the year at points per game. They only gave up 18.6 points per game or around there. I think that was 18.6. That's a damn good defense. You have Robert Saleh, who's very good friends with Aaron Rodgers, and you have a lot of young talent. And I'm not even mentioning like Quinnen Williams or Sauce, but I'm just talking about offense. You have Brees Hall and you have Garrett Wilson, both who I'm okay with saying that they're superstars. Like I know that they were rookies, but they I feel like they're both. You could have argued that they both could have won Rookie of the Year if Brees Hall would have stayed healthy. So you have the best wide receiver from the draft class. You have the best running back from the draft class. You have, I mean, who's better? He averaged like he averaged 6 yards a carry.
Yeah, the dude also played half the season, so it's skewed stats. The dude, I'm pretty sure that dude also had like the most.
Anyways,
50-yard
we can debate that later. Brees Hall was. I think by far he was the best running back as a rookie. But anyways, why would you not give up 2 first-round picks? Aaron Rodgers, not even a year ago, was coming off of back-to-back MVPs, and everybody thought he was like freaking Jesus Christ throwing the football. So why are we going to all of a sudden, he's been getting so trash this year, even though he's played like a top 10 quarterback. And we talked about it in the group chat today. I know Kate agreed with it. And it was about how before the season, everybody said Aaron Rodgers is going to decline. He doesn't have good receivers. He has all these young guys. He lost his offensive coordinator. He lost his quarterback coach. You trade away the only receiver he liked. What did we expect? Everyone said what was going to happen, and then it happened, and now they're shitting on Aaron Rodgers. So I just think it's a little bit unfair. I think if you give Rodgers a top-notch defense and you send him to a team that actually takes care of him, because Green Bay doesn't, they like neglect him, like, you know, for however many years he's been there. You give him a top 5 defense. You give him all this young talent. Rodgers said on the McAfee show today that he loves the weapons in New York. I mean, they might be the best team in the entire NFL, or at least like the AFC, with Aaron Rodgers if he's playing how he was when he won back-to-back MVPs. Because you have a top 5 defense, you have an MVP caliber quarterback, and you have all this young talent with a very good head coach. The only concern I have is, can he go back to the MVP form?
You could argue the Jets are the hottest team in the NFL.
Oh,
no, Green Bay.
That's a scary one to involve right there. Would you become a Jets fan if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets?
What was that?
So would you become a Jets fan if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets? Obviously, it might not be your first team, but
I would definitely still be a Packer fan. Wouldn't want to be, but I would have to be, just because I have been for years. I can't stand the front office, but yes, I would instead of watching one game a week, I'd be watching 2. I'd watch every Jet game, and I probably would become a bit of a Jet fan for sure.
I agree.
Josh, would you?
Yeah, I'd definitely be watching 2 games.
Yeah. I love Rodgers as much as I love the Packers, so it would be tough.
It's kind of cool. It'd be 2 games I'd never want to watch.
Well, it's all right.
You
can watch your team lose every game.
Yeah, it'd be like watching your nightmares.
Yeah, 2 of the. Yeah, no, Kate nailed it right there. It was 2 of the hottest.
But
teams.
like, listen to like what you said is every GM and owner's job is to bring their team a championship, a Super Bowl.
Bingo.
And Gutekunst is thinking the same thing. I mean, he's like, do I have a better chance of winning a Super Bowl with Jordan Love, or do I have a better chance of winning a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers? And if he thinks it's Jordan Love, then I mean, I need to drive up to Green Bay with a baseball bat. And sorry, Ryan Gutekunst, if you're watching this, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna practice. You guys got nice baseball fields up there. But yeah, I mean, the chance of them being closer to a Super Bowl with Jordan Love it's not there. Your chance of winning a Super Bowl is with Aaron Rodgers. Let him retire there, pay him the rest of his money, and hopefully he rides off into the sunset with a Super Bowl. I mean, that's my dream.
Josh, actually, Jay, I want to interject for 4 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
Josh, your girlfriend literally commented for the Packers fan, if Rodgers were to leave Green Bay, would you still be Green Bay fan, or would you follow Rodgers? I didn't see that. asked that
Damn.
question, looked over to my other screen, and saw the exact question I asked, and I was literally blown away.
That's crazy. She's an analytic star, huh?
Yeah, it seems like she's
Wow.
reading minds. But yeah, Jay,
Um,
what were you
but
gonna say?
yeah, my same
Oh,
my
I was
answer is the
gonna
same
say-
as Jay's on that.
I was gonna say, Josh. Josh and I kind of talked today, and we've talked a while about it. How if Green Bay was that confident after they drafted Jordan Love that he was going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, because that was the draft comp, right? If they were that confident in him after year one, after year two, after year three, then why haven't they pulled the trigger and traded away Rodgers? Obviously, there's something they don't like about Jordan Love that we don't know about.
I feel like that's an unfair assessment because
Is it?
when you
Is it?
have the two-time back-to-back MVP starting your roster, it takes
Yeah.
quite the caliber of a player for you
Okay.
to be like, yeah,
That's
hey,
what I
bud,
told you too,
Hey,
Jason.
bud, get out of here. We don't want you anymore. We're gonna replace you with another guy. Like you
But
understand.
Aaron Rodgers.
everyone
Yeah.
said he had a bad year this year. So why haven't they pulled the trigger and been like, you know what? Like we want him gone. Like they're
Because
still saying,
everyone's
we
an
want him
idiot.
back,
Wait.
we want him back. You know.
Let's address this. So, why haven't they gotten rid of him for having a bad year this
No, no,
year?
no,
I
I'm
feel like
just
it's
saying-
a little early for us to make that assessment.
I'm just saying it's not, because I just think, well, it is and it isn't, because I think if it was like a situation where he looks like Mahomes, like in practice, or he came into a game and everybody's like, wow, this guy is the real deal. It would have been, we're moving forward with Jordan Love. Rodgers has done great here, but it's been like, oh, we're gonna have meetings with Rodgers. We want him back. We don't want anyone else here next year. And it's been such like it's like a marriage, and like they need it. I heard this metaphor, like the husband and the wife, they're not in love anymore, but they think about the past, and neither of them wants to break off the marriage, but they should.
The point you were drawing at of they don't want to cut ties. I mean, I'm not sitting
Yeah.
here talking about how Jordan Love is the next Patrick Mahomes. I think
Well,
that's far
Might
fetched.
be, but yes,
I think it's far fetched as can be.
yeah,
But
it is.
the point I'm getting to is Aaron Rodgers in the Packers' eyes will still always hold a top 5 value in the NFL as long as he plays. You have to replace him with a caliber of a top 5 player because they're playing to win. At the end of the day, they're not playing for the future. They're playing for the present. So you would need to replace him with a top 5 caliber of a quarterback. How on God's green earth is Jordan Love supposed to live up to that level, let alone implement himself into this game? Like, he would literally have to be in practice throwing the ball like this, delivering the ball on point, rolling out of the pocket, delivering 50-yard dots on the just out of nowhere. And like you're setting the standard so high that it's just
Have you seen him when he's coming? Did you watch him in that Kansas City game where he looked abysmal? And then did you watch him when he played the second half against Detroit last year? He
no.
looked terrible. He looked terrible.
I don't sit here and watch Packers games. I just want to throw that out there. But
Well, you watched the ones that Rodgers tore you apart, but other than
those happen to correlate with the team I'm interested
it happens twice a year. It happens twice a year. But
in. Anyhow, the point I'm getting to is you're setting the standard too high for a guy who hasn't shown much.
Yeah.
So even if let's say he's a practice warrior, the dude's out here top 7 quarterback, still too off of what they're literally projecting Aaron Rodgers to be every year. So
yeah.
Fair. Okay, should we move on to Tom Brady?
oh my God, Las Vegas Raiders and Tom Brady. I feel like we have to
Yeah.
kind of talk about Derek Carr because like we should be
What
talking
about
about how he.
Because I feel
think
like that's where it could go.
I feel like he has to be off the roster by February. I want to say 13th. I might be off on the date, but it's somewhere in the middle of February. He has to be off the roster, or they have to pay him a substantial amount of money guaranteed. So with that being said, where the hell is he gonna go, and who's gonna replace him? Anybody is free to speak.
I don't know. I think once again, the New York Jets are really in the market for one right now. I think that could be a good spot for him. The Colts, they're notorious for picking up old used quarterbacks, and
but bad ones, not good ones.
It's
Well,
true.
Derek didn't have the most ideal season, so
Wherever he goes, he's definitely, I don't know. I mean, obviously he's going to be a starter, but so you have to look at the teams that are really going to want a starter. Is Derek Carr going to play better than Geno Smith? There's too much debate there, so I don't think so. I don't think that they'd be willing to take that risk, and I just don't see a lot of teams wanting him besides the ones I already mentioned, besides the Jets, the Colts, and maybe Saints. But
What
I
about
think
the Commanders?
the Saints have a high pick. So
What about the Commanders?
The Commanders don't have as high as a pick, so that could be a decent spot for him to land.
Yep.
But I really don't think. I mean, I like Derek Carr, but I don't think he's going to add much value. He's not better than Daniel Jones.
No, he is, but they're close.
He doesn't have. I mean, Daniel Jones has more upside. I think Daniel Jones has more upside. He can run. He can have an 80-yard rushing game. It's possible. He's done it.
Because I think Austin, you mentioned who replaces Brady?
Or Brady.
Yeah.
Kyle Trask.
Are you talking about Las Vegas or are you talking about Tampa?
I'm talking about Tampa.
Okay.
Because I was gonna say that's a very, very young, talented roster. Like they do have some veteran guys that need to be paid and stuff, but I mean they're loaded. Tampa literally, I mean they need a new offensive coordinator. The defense is top notch. At least like in talent. They have Mike Evans, they have Chris Godwin, they have one of the best young tackles in the NFL. I really think they get a young quarterback in there and develop them. I don't see why Tampa can't be a playoff team again in a year.
Kay's gonna understand the term I'm about to use, but are we gonna see like a sign-in trade between the Raiders and the Bucks? I feel like we can't excuse the fact that Carr might end up as a Buck and Brady might end up as a Raider.
I think. Well, Tom Brady's gonna be a free agent though, isn't he? They don't have any.
That's why I'm saying like a sign-in trade per se, where like both of them are going to be free agents, but they're going to end up on the different rosters.
True.
Tag and trade.
It's like I'm just thinking
of signing because they're free agents.
Yeah.
Signing
okay.
Signing
trade. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I was thinking like what Green Bay did with Devontae. They tagged him and then traded him.
I think he ends up going to the Commanders. I was kind of, while you guys were all talking, I was kind of scrolling through people's predictions and kind of explaining things. One thing to point out, Commanders have 8 draft picks this year. 4 of them are in the first 4 rounds. So they have the ability to give away picks, and I think still be okay. And then you have the Jets who have 6 picks, the Saints who have 7. But with that, I think the Commanders are the best fit. I think they move on from Carson Wentz. They have to figure out what they're going to do with Heineke. But outside of that, they don't have much. And then kind of why I don't see them going with the Saints. I don't know about the Jets. I think that'll be, like we talked about the Rodgers situation. That really turns out to be something, then obviously they're off the table. But in the Saints regard, they have Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston, who are at least decent enough quarterbacks where you can't either move on from either one of them to be going after somebody like Derek Carr. In my opinion, I don't think you're getting much more than you already have by going after Derek. So yeah.
If I'm the Commanders, I'm sticking with Howell, honestly. Sorry, I cut you off. But like that last game of the season, I know that's not much, but Howell really showed some promise. And where did they draft him? Do you guys know?
Probably top 10.
Second round? No, he was in the first round pick.
They don't have they have a first pick, right? First round pick.
No, but where did they draft Howell last year?
Oh, like second, third round. It was pretty late.
Yeah,
it was later than expected.
But that's still a decent investment, for him to have not, disproven himself.
Yeah,
that's still a decent investment. I mean, that's a valuable draft pick, and I think that, not that they won't be looking for a quarterback, I think they need to give him a shot.
Okay, Josh. I know you and I have talked multiple times about when we take over the Packers. I'm kind of glad we're doing this as a team and not just you, because some of your game plans, stick with Sam Howell after one game. tank for 4 years and draft Arch Manning. It's a little crazy. It's a little crazy. Beat up our former general manager with a baseball bat. It's a little crazy. But I will say, question for you guys, because I've heard a lot of speculation about this. If Brady doesn't go to the Raiders, which everyone's kind of assuming he will, do you think he waits to see where Sean Payton goes? Because he wanted to go to Miami with Sean Payton before he went to Tampa, and that's why Miami lost a draft pick this year because of tampering.
Where's Sean interviewing? I've seen that same stuff.
I want to say it was
Cardinals?
Washington, Cardinals,
Denver.
Denver. Yeah, Denver's a big one that everyone's talking about, but Denver's got a lot of problems. And then Carolina, maybe. I think Carolina is one of them. Atlanta could be interesting with Pitts there, but I don't think they.
I think Denver's off the table with Russell.
Yeah, probably.
What's up?
I think the best fit for him would be Chargers. I'd like to see him there.
Yeah, unfortunately
but I'm
not.
saying Brady. I'm saying like Brady and Payton together because that's what they were trying to do in Miami. So he can't get Chargers.
I'm saying as Sean Payton as a head coach position, he's gonna go with his best.
Also true.
He's going to go as the best option. If he goes to Denver, then you could immediately rule out Brady going there because they already have Russell. I think, like you said Chargers. If he goes with the Chargers for some reason, Herbert's already there, like something like that. So, like, to me, I think your best fit might be Arizona. I don't think Kyler Murray's very good. So, Arizona could be a very high possibility. Who else? Commanders, I think.
Does Arizona have the roster? Oh, are you talking? I'm talking about Brady and Payton together because you think
I'm saying like who he's going to come in and take the quarterback spot. So you can't go with somebody that already has the quarterback spot. That's kind of solidified.
I just want to put out there real quick, and if the Chargers find a way to get Sean Payton, there's going to be another powerhouse in the AFC, and it's just going to be disgusting for the next I don't know how many years with Lamar. I mean, we don't know about Lamar, but with Cincy, Buffalo, there'll be the Chargers, Kansas City, probably missing. I mean, Dolphins, we don't know what's going to happen with them. Pittsburgh, I feel like it's on the rise. That's just going to be a mad conference. Cleveland might be on the rise too,
With that being said, I think we're going to wrap up our third and final segment. We next week will definitely dive more into the future because there's definitely a lot to talk about, and we'll have one more week's understanding of all of this information. But with that being said, this was a good pod, and we appreciate everybody who came in to stop by.